Hi everybody, my name is Lynn Ismael and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the perennial bare root and plug liners that I ordered from Van Noort. It's a wholesale company here in Canada, and I'm going to be sharing you why I chose these plants. If this is your first time watching my channel, my name is Lynn Ismael. I garden in southwestern Ontario, zone 6A/5B, although I feel that I'm more closer to 6B. I garden mostly to get some cut flowers, and my goal for 2025 is to start selling those flowers and make a business out of my hobby. I've decided to invest in more perennials now because perennials come back every year, and because they come back every year, I don't have to plant them every year, which will save me with my labor, and I don't have to dig up my soil. I don't have to disturb soil too much. So why am I buying wholesale? Number one, is cheaper. Number two, it allows me to have a lot of small plants all at once. And number three, these plants that I've chosen to buy from wholesale, they're hard to grow from seeds. I've chosen to dive into buying wholesale because it is cheaper. If you consider buying the same number of plants out of retail, it's going to cost me hundreds of dollars. I do have to put in a big order, but if you look at the cost of individual plants, it'll be much cheaper. Buying wholesale means that I can get a lot of plants all at once, small plants that will grow all at the same time, hopefully, which means they will all mature at the same time. When they mature at the same time, I get to harvest them at the same time. The good thing about starting with small plants is that they're easier to establish in your garden than when you try to transplant mature plant into a spot where you want it to grow. If I really want to go about it in a less expensive way, I could buy just one plant, plant it, wait for 3 years, and then lift it up and divide it into two, maybe three. One plant becomes three plants 3 years later. But if I want to have 25 plants, that three plants times three be 9 times 9, 81. So we're looking at 10 years to get a big amount of plants that I can harvest all at the same time. I can wait that long. Or I can get 25 plants now in small sizes, and then 3 years later, I'm able to harvest them all at once. So that's why I'm buying wholesale. And the last reason why I'm buying wholesale is because these plants that I've chosen, they're very hard to grow from seeds. And even if you start them from seeds, it takes a long time for them to develop into mature plants that you can harvest from eventually. So somebody already done the part of cultivating these plants for me. So the only thing I have to do is make sure that they grow into mature plant, and it won't take as long. So let's move on now to the perennials that I've chosen. Number one on my list was Totally Tangerine GM. Back in May of 2024, we visited Dublin. And in Dublin, like most European cities, they like their gardens. And one particular plant that caught my attention was Aegeum. It was tall, it was single petal orange, and they bloom profusely. I looked at the name of that plant, and it's Totally Tangerine GM. So I waited for Bessie's to have their sale for bare root plants, and I bought three, planted all three, but only two survived. They did bloom, but because they're very young, they didn't bloom as much. But for the three stems that they put it out, I was so happy with how they look. They're tall and billowy, and that bright orange is not harsh, kind of like golden. It's not harsh orange. It's more, well, tangerine, I suppose. So I was very, very pleased with how they look, and they do very well in floral arrangements too. If I buy them from Bessie's, that's gonna be more expensive than buying them wholesale. So I have 25 plants for that to plant next year. GM likes to be placed in moist soil. They can do shade, part shade. I think they can do full sun too, as long as you make sure that the soil stays moist. I do have a lot of spots in the shaded portions of my garden where I think this GM will thrive. And rabbits don't like GMs. They don't even touch their flowers. So that is perfect for me. The only thing I have to make sure is that they don't dry out. Next plant is a Solomon seal, Polygonatum odoratum variegatum. It's the variegated Solomon seal that grows 2 to 3 feet long. It has a rhizomatous root, but apparently grows really slow. Found conflicting data between what kind of soil they like. Most say that they like moist soil, but others say that they can tolerate drier conditions. So I ordered 25. I'll plant half of them in where I know there's going to be constantly moist soil, and another part where it's average, and another part where it'll be dry. They'll be my sacrificial test subjects, and we'll see if they do okay in dry conditions. I chose the variegated Solomon seal because there's a demand for it in terms of floral arrangements. It is a perennial, so they'll come back every year once they're established, and they last very long in the cooler for florists. So I'm hoping that having a bunch of Solomon seal growing my garden, that I'll be able to provide bunches for florists to buy from me in the near future. Next one is possibly a gamble. It is Alstroemeria tersae, or tierce. I'm going to put it right here. Alstroemeria is also known as Peruvian lily. The good thing about them as a cut flower is that they last very long in vase and they keep well in the cooler for florists to use. One thing is I've tried buying two bare roots. One was 2 years ago and another was a year ago. First year I planted them on the ground, nothing came out. Second year I planted them in pot, nothing came out. So now I'm getting 25 and I'm hoping that one of those will come out, which is not the smartest thing to do if they all end up as studs, but I want an Alstroemeria. This one is supposed to be good to zone 5. I'm going to be planting it at zone 6A, which I think is already in zone 6B because of the microclimate that I have in my garden. So I'm hoping they'll be okay. I can also plant a few in pots and maybe overwinter them in my garage. See how they do. Seems like they like average soil, so we'll see. I'm hoping they work out. Next plant is the Gentiana True Blue. I tried a few times to grow Gentiana from seed. Failed both of times. The Gentiana is a perennial that produces these dark blue flowers in late summer to early fall. And I want that because there's not a lot of true blue flowers in late summer into fall. So I think having a gentian blue flower would be something useful in floral arrangements around that time of the year. They are deer resistant because they have that thick leaves, almost succulently looking. I've never seen it in person, but by looking at the pictures, they look very succulent looking, and also similar to the Synstranthus one. That's probably why deer don't like them. Just not sure how rabbits will treat them, because you can never tell with rabbits. If they're hungry, they're stupid, they'll just eat anything even though they're poisonous. So this one is the most expensive of the plants that I've chosen, so we'll see how they do in my garden. Last one is Baptisia australis. Baptisia is a perennial that has very long tap roots, so it is drought resistant once established. Florists like them for their foliage and for the flowers that they produce early in the spring. The one I have is the native Baptisia, which is the blue one, and they grow up to 4 feet tall in a vase-like shape. They're supposed to be deer resistant, but I've bought 2 Baptisias last year, and both of them had been ravaged by deer. No, not deer, rabbits. Ravaged by rabbits. So I don't know if they're going to come back. So this time around, I'm going to be planting most of it in the inside fence. I'll plant some outside of the fence, but just have a little barrier just to protect them from those little monsters. And hopefully that'll be enough to give them the chance to grow. Like I said, because they're drought resistant, I don't have to worry about irrigating them for at least the first year, and I'll have constant supply of foliage if I need to. So there you go. Those are my 6 perennial plants that I ordered wholesale for planting next year. I will give you an update once I receive them, and then once they start growing. Probably won't be harvesting from them until the next few years or so, but at least I'll give you some ideas of the perennials I've chosen, and maybe that'll be something that you would like in your garden. If you've reached it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and until I see you again, bye!